Cha Eun-woo and Moon Jae-young Redemption, a love story written in scars and second chances. In the kaleidoscopic world of South Korean entertainment, where fleeting headlines and lightning-fast scandals can make or break careers, love is often treated as a fragile secret, a candle hidden from the wind. For Cha Eun-woo and Moon Jae-young, two of the most admired faces in the industry, love was once a beautiful flame that burned too bright, too soon. It was a story that ended before it had the chance to bloom fully, or so the world thought. Their journey is not a fairy tale in the traditional sense. It's messier, heavier, written in the ink of misunderstandings and personal battles. It's a story of mistakes, absence, and pain. But more importantly, it's a story of resilience, self-discovery, and the rare, aching beauty of second chances. The first chapter, when worlds collided, they met in 2020 while filming True Beauty, a drama that would catapult their chemistry into public fascination. On set, their banter was easy, their smiles natural, and their performances magnetic. Fans were quick to ship them, weaving together fan cams and edits that blurred the lines between real and real. But behind the camera, they were simply two young artists navigating the chaotic demands of rising fame. Moon Jae-young, known for her poise and emotional depth, often carried the weight of her characters long after the director called cut. Cha Eun-woo, with his polished image and perfectionist drive, balanced multiple careers as an actor, singer, and idol in ASDRO. Despite their differences, something unspoken passed between them, an understanding that only two people walking the same tightrope could share. Coffee breaks became conversations. Late-night script rehearsals became shared laughter. It wasn't an explosive romance at first. It was slow, cautious, and filled with stolen moments. But as the drama aired and their popularity soared, so did the pressure. Dating rumors began to swirl, and with them came the invasive scrutiny of the public. No love, however genuine, can thrive without space to breathe. In their case, that space simply didn't exist. Cha Eun-woo's career began to accelerate at a dizzying pace. Fan meetings, overseas schedules, endorsements, and acting roles stacked endlessly on his calendar. Moon Jae-young, equally in demand, found herself filming back-to-back projects, often abroad. They tried to make it work. Midnight phone calls, quick meetups between shoots, and handwritten notes slipped into each other's bags. But cracks began to appear. Misunderstandings, once easily resolved, started to linger. Words left unsaid grew heavier with each passing day. One evening, after yet another canceled dinner due to last-minute work obligations, their conversation turned into a quiet breaking point. "Maybe we should stop trying to force this," Jae-young said softly, though her eyes betrayed the storm inside. Eun-woo, torn between wanting to fight for them and fearing he'd only hurt her more, replied, "I don't want to lose you, but I don't know how to keep you without breaking you in the process." And so, without anger or betrayal, they let go. Two people still in love, but too exhausted to hold on. The world moved on, as it always does. Fans speculated, but no confirmation ever came. Interviews were carefully navigated. Public appearances together became non-existent. Jae-young threw herself into her work, her performances earning critical acclaim. Yet, in quiet hotel rooms between shoots, she sometimes caught herself replaying old voice notes from him, her thumb hovering over the delete button but never pressing it. Eun-woo, too, found ways to keep busy. Albums, concerts, dramas, variety shows. He smiled for the cameras, but when the lights dimmed, there were nights when he found himself scrolling through old photos, wondering if she'd kept his favorite sweater. They were not in each other's lives anymore, yet each lived with the ghost of the other's absence. In 2025, fate, or perhaps a particularly mischievous scheduling manager, brought them together again. A high-profile charity project was in the works, a star-studded photography book raising funds for underprivileged children. Both were invited to participate. Neither knew the other was involved until the first coordination meeting. The air was thick when they first locked eyes across the conference room. It had been years, yet the sight of each other felt both foreign and achingly familiar. They exchanged polite greetings, masking the undercurrent of emotions with professional courtesy. The first week was careful. Conversations were minimal, limited to work-related matters. But as the days passed and the project required them to travel together for shoots, barriers began to erode. It started small. A shared umbrella during an unexpected downpour. A laugh over a clumsy photographer tripping over cables. Quietly standing beside each other while watching a sunset after a long day of filming. One evening in a coastal village where they'd been shooting, they found themselves sitting by a pier, the sea stretching endlessly before them. The night was quiet except for the gentle lap of waves. "I thought you hated the rain," Eun-woo said, breaking the silence. "I used to," Ga Young replied, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "But I think I just hated walking in alone." The meaning behind her words was not lost on him. Their true turning point came 2 weeks later, on a rainy evening in Seoul. The charity project had wrapped, and they were set to part ways again. Eun-woo, torn between fear and hope, asked her to meet him before she left for her next shoot. When she arrived, he was already there, umbrella in hand, rain dripping from his hair. "I've spent years pretending I was okay without you," he began, voice low but steady. "But the truth is, I was just too scared to try again. I thought I'd only hurt you more." Ga Young looked at him, her eyes searching. "You did hurt me, Eun-woo, but I hurt too, because I let go when maybe I should have fought for us." He took a step closer, his voice breaking. "I don't know if I deserve a second chance, but I want one with you. Second chances are not about erasing the past. They are about learning to live with it." For Cha Eun-woo and Moon Jae-young, reconciliation was not instantaneous. They took it slow, sharing meals, exchanging messages, and gradually becoming part of each other's daily lives again. They talked, really talked, about what had gone wrong before. They set boundaries, respected each other's schedules, and promised to communicate instead of withdrawing. They learned to say no to work sometimes, to protect the space they had rebuilt. Friends noticed a change. Eun-woo smiled more freely. Jae-young's laughter came easier. And though they still kept their relationship away from the media spotlight, there was an ease in the way they existed together now. In an industry obsessed with perfection, their love story stands out because it's imperfect. It's a reminder that relationships, especially under pressure of fame, are fragile, but not impossible. Their journey speaks to anyone who's ever lost someone they loved, not because of a lack of feeling, but because of timing, distance, or personal battles. It's a testament to the idea that people can change, grow, and meet each other again in a better place than where they left off. In 2020, the filming set True Beauty was a controlled chaos of lights, cameras, and the muffled chatter of crew members hurrying between takes. The drama was already generating buzz before its premiere, a high school romance filled with humor, heartbreak, and a universal yearning to be seen for who you truly are. Cha Eun-woo walked onto set with his trademark composure, the air around him humming with a quiet kind of attention. He had the polished poise of someone who knew how to carry the weight of public expectation, yet behind his sharp features was a certain guardedness, as though he kept the best parts of himself hidden. Moon Jae-young, on the other hand, carried a different kind of energy, warm, approachable, and grounded. She had a knack for making everyone from senior actors to the newest crew member feel like they mattered. Her laughter could cut through the stiffness of a long filming day, and her eyes held a depth that made her characters linger in people's hearts long after the credits rolled. The first time they were introduced, it was in the makeup room. Eun-woo was seated quietly, scanning through a script, while Jae-young walked in with a cup of coffee in each hand. "I wasn't sure if you drink coffee, but everyone keeps saying it's the only way to survive the schedule," she said with a small smile, offering him one. He accepted it with a polite nod, his lips curving into the faintest smile. "Thanks. I do. Black." From that moment, something shifted, not a spark, but a flicker. At first, their interactions were strictly professional. They rehearsed their lines, discussed blocking with the director, and maintained an easy camaraderie in group settings. But as filming progressed, the natural rhythm between them began to bleed into their characters. One memorable scene required them to walk side by side under a single umbrella. It was a light romantic beat in the script, but the director insisted they reshoot it multiple times, adjusting the distance, the angle of their gazes, the way Eun-woo held the umbrella slightly tilted toward her. During one take, a sudden gust of wind flipped the umbrella inside out. Jae-young burst into laughter. And without thinking, Eun-woo reached up to shield her from the drizzle with his own body. It wasn't in the script. The crew noticed, the director smiled, and the camera kept rolling. Later, in the dressing room, Jae-young teased him. "That wasn't acting, was it?" He smirked faintly. "Maybe I just didn't want you to catch a cold." The long hours of drama filming often blur the lines between reality and performance. Between takes, Eun-woo and Jae-young began to share little pockets of time, moments that didn't make it into any behind-the-scenes reel, but stayed etched in their memories. During a night shoot on a rooftop, the Seoul skyline glittering in the background, they found themselves sitting together on a metal bench while the crew set up the next shot. "Sometimes I forget we're acting," Jae-young admitted softly, gazing at the city lights. Eun-woo glanced at her, the cool night air visible in his breath. "Me too." There was no need for further explanation. The city hummed below them. The cameras clicked somewhere in the distance, and for a brief moment, the world felt suspended. It wasn't an immediate, dramatic romance. It was quieter than that. Their connection grew in glances exchanged across the set, in the way Eun-woo would unconsciously step closer to hear her better over the hum of the crew, in the way Jae-young remembered how he liked his coffee without asking. There was one afternoon during a particularly grueling week when Jae-young seemed unusually tired. Between takes, she sat down on a folding chair, rubbing her temples. Without a word, Eun-woo disappeared and returned minutes later with a small carton of warm soy milk and a sandwich from a catering table. "Eat," he said simply, placing them in her hands. She smiled faintly, warmth blooming in her chest. Not from the soy milk, but from a quiet thoughtfulness behind the gesture. When the cameras stopped rolling, as the drama's popularity exploded, so did the public's obsession with their pairing. Interviewers would bring up their chemistry. Variety shows replayed their most romantic scenes, and fans flooded social media with compilations set to love songs. Off camera, they began to meet outside of work, not often and always discreetly. Sometimes it was just a quick dinner after a long shoot. Sometimes it was sitting in a quiet park, talking about things they couldn't share in interviews. The pressure of fame, the loneliness of hotel rooms, the strange paradox of being adored by millions yet feeling invisible in private life. One such night, as they sat on a bench near the Han River, Eun-woo told her, "People think I'm confident because of the way I look or what I do on stage. But most of the time, I'm just trying to keep up with the version of me they expect." Jae-young looked at him, her gaze steady. "Then maybe you need more people around you who don't expect you to be perfect." The words lingered with him long after he walked her to her car that night. As filming neared its end, they both felt a quiet dread at the thought of not seeing each other every day. The wrap party was